Okay, so I've now added the 3 additional records into my database, and as it tells me to do so, I have checked the data entry for errors by reading it back through again. My next instruction tells me to save that data, so I'm going to Control S for my save shortcut. Remember, you're now working on a PC, so it's not Command S, it's Control S. And the next instruction tells me to produce a report. And it gives me a whole list of bullet points that I need to work on to create this report. And these list of bullet points are going to be achieved in 2 different ways. Number 1, I'm going to create a query, which is a question on the table that I have in front of me, and I can answer some of those bullet points when I make that query. And then I'm going to transfer that data of the query into a report, and a few of those bullet points will be done when I do that stage. So let's get on to that now. I've got my table selected, and I'm going to go to the Create window, and I'm going to start with creating a query design. So I'm going to go into Query Design, and it asks me what table I want to be able to see in my query, and I want to be able to work with the JXII cars table. I'm just going to expand that table so that I can see what I'm working with, and I'm going to bring down into the query table down here the relevant fields that I wish. So my instruction says produce a report which shows only the records where the model is Micro Z and the car has not been sold, and shows only the fields VIN, model, power, engine size, price, colour, location and sold with their labels in full. So that's what I'll start with. I'm going to bring in the VIN table, the model field, the power field, the engine size field, the price field, the colour field, and I'm bringing these in just by double clicking them, the location field and the sold field. If I bring in the wrong one, I can actually change what I have here by using the drop down arrow, and I can select a different field for that particular element of the query. Now, it also says in my list here that it's going to fit on a single page wide and have a page orientation of landscape. Those kind of things I'm going to worry about when I get to the actual report. For the moment, I'm just trying to sort out what data I want to see. It's going to sort the data into the ascending order of the VIN. It's going to calculate the total number of Micro Z cars for sale. It's going to have the label number of cars for sale in the total. I'm going to have the heading list of Micro Z cars for sale at the top of the page. So I refer back to the first bullet point that says show only the records where the model is Micro Z. Here under my model field, I'll notice that I have a row called criteria. And in the criteria row, I can filter what I'm going to see from this field. And in this case, if I simply add the name Micro Z, has to be spelt exactly the same as it would be in the table in order to find it. If I fill that out there, then when it runs the query, it will search for the models of Micro Z as a criteria. So I have to be on the criteria row and in the correct field. I can see that it adds the speech marks around the side of my criteria when I click off, and I can test that by pressing the Run button, which is the little red exclamation mark up in the top hand corner, and it will now run that query, and I can see only the Micro Z model cars. And there's a lot of them. It's quite a long query, but I can see that. Now if I save my query, and the easiest way to do that is actually to use the little close box, not the big red X in the corner because you'll close access, but the smaller window. I want to save the changes. Absolutely I do. This is going to be the Micro Z. Okay, and now I can see that has appeared in my menu to the left, so I can navigate to that when I want to. Still got it open here, my Micro Z, by double clicking, and I can go back into the query view if I need to change something. Now what I'm going to do from here is I'm actually going to build a report from the results of that query. So with my Micro Z query selected, I'm going to go into my Create menu, and I'm going to simply click the button that says Report, and it will make an automatic wizard report based upon what it presumes my criteria to be. So I've got some editing to do here as well. the instruction tells me that my report must be on a single page wide and have an orientation of landscape. So if I change the page setup of my report first of all to landscape, I can see where the grid lines of my pages will be. So in order to make sure it fits on a single page wide, I'm just going to resize some of the columns of the data to ensure that it's going to fit neatly in a single landscape page. Take it a little bit further there and a little bit further there. And that should probably be enough. I might need a little bit more room on price to do my calculation in a minute. So I can see that everything fits into a single landscape page now. And it instructed me that the data should be sorted in ascending order of VIN. So I'm going to go over to the VIN column and I'm going to right click on top of the VIN data and I'm going to choose the sort A to Z option, and it will sort my data in ascending order of the VIN. It also tells me that I need to calculate the total number of Micro Z cars for sale. So down at the very bottom of the page, I'm going to have a calculation field just here. Now I can see that the database has automatically created me a calculation field because it's added up the total number of the total value of all of the cars. It's presumed that that's what I wanted to do. I can leave that there, it's not a massive problem. But I want to have actually the total number of cars for sale, and I want that to appear here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back up to the top and I'm going to go to that column heading, the model column heading, and in the design tab I'm going to use my auto sum totals and I'm going to tell it to count the records, not the values, because that would try and add them up and you can't add text files anyway, so it wouldn't understand, but I'm going to count the records. So now when I've done that, if I scroll back to the bottom of the page, I will find that I have the total number of records. It also instructs me that that should have the label number of cars for sale. So in the box to the left, I'm going to add the label number of cars . Now, at this stage, I'm going to go back through from the top of my instructions and I'm going to check where I'm up to. My first instruction said shows only the records where the model Micro Z is the option and the car has not been sold. Well, I've got plenty of options where the car has not been sold, but I actually have plenty of options where the car has been sold as well. So I need to change this sold category so that I'm only seeing the data that's not been sold. So if I right click again on one of the fields from the sold category, I can see under my filter options I've got is -1, which is the value for yes, is not -1, which is the value for no, is selected, is not selected. So I'm going to choose is not -1 because that will be the option for no. So if I select that, it will only show me the values that have not been sold. And I can see that my total number of Micro Z cars has adjusted, as has the total value of the price of those cars. So my next instruction along told me about the fields I should be able to see. I should be able to see VIN, model, power, engine size, price, colour, location, and sold with their labels in full. Yeah, I can see them all labels in full. Nothing is being hidden or overlapped behind another column. Fits on a single page wide, it does. Has a page orientation of landscape, I've already done that. Sorts the data in ascending order of VIN, has done that. Calculates the total number of Micro Z cars for sale, that's down here in this box, yep, done. Has the label number of cars for sale to the left, yes. Includes the heading list of Micro Z cars for sale at the top of the page, I need to do that. So up here, I'm just going to edit this to say list Micro Z at the top of the page. And lastly, it says has your name, centre number and candidate number on the right in the footer, and then save and print this report. So down here in my footer is a little bit off the page, so I'm actually just going to click and drag that footer into the boundary of the page because I don't want it to be over the side. Now I can't edit my footer in this window. I'll just move my screen recorder tab for a second. I can't edit my footer in this window. I need to change my view. This is currently my layout view. I want to pop into the design view, and this will help me to change what's in my footer. So I can see in the page footer, there's the footer. I'm going to delete the page numbers that appear. I'm going to leave the equals and the speech marks though, because I'm going to put the text inside speech marks so it knows that it's text and it's not trying to do a calculation on it. It tells me that my name, centre number and candidate number should be here. So Miss Gettle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close speech marks, and then home and change back to report view. There's the final report with the heading, all of the data necessary, fits on one page wide, my footer in the bottom right hand corner, total number of cars for sale. I can now save and print that use.